What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Verdat Report. I have a special guest with me today, JJ Buckets. You know who this is. If you don't, go onto his channel and subscribe. JJ, do you want to say a few quick words before we jump into our mock draft for picks 1 to 14 here?
Ooh, very excited to be here. A little jealous that we end up randomizing the wheel and you ended up with the Raptors pick and you get to pick that. But besides for that, I am very excited to do this.
All right. Well, shall we jump right into it?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I wonder who I'm going to draft with the first overall pick. And the San Antonio Spurs select Victor Wembanyama. I think this is a no-brainer. We don't even need to spend too much time on this. Victor Wembanyama is one of the biggest one of the biggest prospects we have ever seen, but also one of the most skilled ones. And I think for their Spurs team, I'm happy for a Spurs team because obviously we saw what happened with Kawhi Leonard. They kind of were in the middle of nowhere with the DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge days as well. Now they finally get a player they can build around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you say one of the biggest, and I'm literally looking at the profile and it says 7'5". So you're
Yeah.
definitely not off that. I think my only concern with Victor would be how his body holds up throughout his NBA career, because
Mhm.
we've obviously seen a history of kind of taller prospects struggle with injuries. As
Yeah.
long as he doesn't end up being one of them, I think he has a chance to be an all-time great, but the injury thing would be like the only small concern that I have here.
Absolutely. All right. Moving on to pick number 2 here. JJ, who is your pick to the Charlotte Hornets?
All right. Well, the Hornets, obviously, it's one of two ways here. You either go with Brandon Miller or you go Scoot Henderson. And quite frankly, I'm still not 100% convinced that the Hornets are going to be making this pick on draft night. But obviously, for the purposes of this video, we've stuck with the order that we have as of now. And as of now, if I'm the Charlotte Hornets, I think Brandon Miller just makes way too much sense at this spot for them, realistically speaking. Like, Scoot is a great talent. Quite frankly, I think you could argue that he's the second best player in this draft. But Brandon Miller had a really good second half of the season there. And Brandon Miller, I think, just fits beside LaMelo Ball a little bit better. So I think that's got to be the pick here.
Now this is obviously one of the biggest question marks as to we know Victor's going to go first. Who's going to go second overall? Is it going to be Brandon? Is it going to be Scoot? I think Scoot is the better player, and it's one of those scenarios. Do you take best fit or do you take the best available player? I don't think the Hornets could go wrong either way. I do agree with you where I believe that Brandon Miller fits a little bit better with LaMelo Ball, whereas Scoot Henderson, he needs the ball to be effective. He's not a great three-point shooter, and although he has amazing athleticism, and I think eventually you can make that work. We've seen it in the NBA. When you pair two guards, look, I know LaMelo is a taller point guard, but when you have two backcourt players that are, like LaMelo and Scoot Henderson, it often just doesn't work. Point guards need the ball to be effective for the most part, unless you're Steph Curry, of course, but him being the exception. But I think this is the right pick for the Hornets. Let's move on to our third pick here. And I think this is absolutely a no-brainer. Again, we're not doing trades for obvious reasons. I think it complicates the draft a little bit too much. So just for the sake of the video, we're just going to keep the picks as it is. And this is a no-brainer if you're the Portland Trail Blazers and you absolutely select Scoot Henderson.
Future Toronto Raptors, Scoot Henderson. I'm gonna speak it into existence. Give it time. Give it time. But no, yeah, Scoot's a fantastic talent. I mean, like what you were saying earlier with like the LaMelo Ball thing, like they're both ball dominant guys, so you maybe don't necessarily want both of them on the same team together. But for the Blazers here, I'd actually be really interested in how things go down. Obviously, the Blazers are one of those teams that I think their offseason goes one of two directions. Either they stay true to what they've been saying in terms of wanting to build around Damian Lillard and run it back with him. And if they do, I think there's a good chance this pick ends up in somebody else's hands. But realistically speaking, they also have the other route where they could finally trade Damian Lillard. And if they do, there's a lot worse starting points to have than, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp being your backcourt kind of moving forward. That's a very talented pairing that suits them really well.
Yeah, and then one more thing I quickly want to talk about Scoot Henderson as well. Again, he's such an amazing athlete. When you look at him, he honestly does not look 6'2", and his build is not like a young player coming into the NBA. Like in his first season, you're going to be seeing him hang with a lot of NBA veterans, and you're going to be amazed. He's physically ready. I think he's going to be amazing, obviously, for the Portland Trail Blazers. The big question does lie in terms of who or what they're going to do in terms of the pick, and obviously Damian Lillard as well. But let's move on to our fourth pick here, and that should be me. So this is right. That's no, sorry, that's you. That's you. I just selected Scoot. All right. So it's your turn. Let's see who you got here.
I think at this point, so this is the point in the draft where you can make an argument there's a little bit of a talent drop off. I don't think it's as big as some people describe it, but nonetheless, I think Houston is sitting here again. I'm not 100% convinced that they actually make this pick on draft night. I'm not 100% convinced they don't try to trade out and go for the more kind of win now approach of some of the things that we've heard coming out of Houston in terms of how their offseason might unfold. Obviously, with Ime Udoka there now and them wanting to be more competitive. But assuming they make this pick, I think Amen Thompson is the best guy on the board for them. Realistically, I quite frankly, you need more playmaking on that team. And he's going to give it to you because I like Kevin Porter Jr., but I don't think he should be your starting point guard, especially if you're trying to compete and win. I think he's great, quite frankly. If they slide him over to like that 6-man role, he would be fantastic in that. And, having Amen Thompson and Jalen Green in your backcourt, I think that's a fantastic pairing. I think those two guys work well together, considering Amen's gifts with his floor vision. He can definitely make the Houston offense look a lot less ugly than it has at times with their current lack of playmaking outside of like Şengün. So I think this is such a natural fit for them should they end up making the pick.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit. I don't not that I don't think they should just select Amen Thompson. This is going to be one of those challenges because free agency comes after the draft. We know the Houston Rockets have been linked to guys like James Harden. They obviously have a shooting guard in Jalen Green, and they've also been linked to guys like Fred VanVleet as well. They want to put a competitive team together. So it becomes very hard with this pick. Again, it's almost like how we did with the Hornets pick. Are you selecting the best available player or are you selecting the best fit? Now, obviously, like you said, they do need a point guard. But the question arises, like if you draft Amen Thompson and then James Harden comes back, now all of a sudden you got question marks everywhere, right? So he's a point guard. James Harden is playing the point guard position. You're not going to put him as a small forward. Jalen Green is obviously a little bit too short to be playing the small forward position as well. I don't disagree with this pick in the sense that it's obviously, Amen Thompson is the player you should be selecting at the fourth position, but there have been a lot of questions around the Thompson twin brothers as well, and just their competition. A lot of people like to joke that they're playing with high school guys, but let's see. It's just one of those positions. It's not like I don't think you could go wrong either way. You select Amen Thompson, sign James Harden, then take it from there, right? So, all right. So moving on to the fifth pick here. This one is really, really tricky. It's not easy to select, a player here. Obviously, a lot of people will say maybe, the other twin Thompson brother, maybe Cam Whitmore, Jarace Walker. I'm actually going to go with Cam Whitmore here. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Detroit Pistons. They need a little bit of scoring. They have some other guys. Obviously, they have too many point guards. Honestly, if you ask me at this point right now, we know Cade is there, so it wouldn't make sense for them to draft someone like an Anthony Black. Again, you could make the case for Jarace Walker. I don't see it. Like you have at the center position, they traded for who was it from Sacramento? I'm just going blank here. Help me out here. He was drafted before Luka Doncic.
Marvin Bagley?
Marvin Bagley. Thank you. They have him there. They also have Isaiah Stewart there as well. So again,
and you're missing the best one of the bunch, Jalen
Duren. Sorry, Jalen Duren there. They acquired again, my mind's just going completely blank because we've got so many names here. The guy they've acquired from the Warriors as well, who was selected. Wiseman. Thank you, James Wiseman as well. So it's such a difficult decision to make in terms of who you select because it's always that best player fit, and I just think Cam Whitmore makes a lot of sense. You need someone at the small forward position, especially after you move Saddiq Bey. Cade and him, I think, will complement each other's game really well.
Yep. This was actually, I think there's a couple of points in this draft where I think it gets really interesting in terms of the direction that the team goes. And this was definitely like one of the spots that I was really eyeing where you would go with this Detroit pick. I actually also had Whitmore at this spot. So yeah. I'm with you on this one. I really am. I think this is the best move for them. Obviously, you have Bogdan Bogdanovic there, or is it? It's Bojan Bogdanovic. Bojan. Sorry. I always get those two confused. But obviously, I think there's a good chance that you potentially trade him elsewhere, or otherwise, let's be honest, that's not a big part of your future moving forward regardless. So I think Whitmore just makes a lot of sense here.
I agree. All right. So moving on to the next pick here. Who do you have selecting for the Orlando Magic?
So you actually briefly mentioned his name with the last pick, and the loss of Detroit is going to be the gain of the Magic. I think Anthony Black goes at this spot here.
Oh wow, I thought
Real,
you were gonna go with Asar Thompson, but wow, Anthony Black. Whew, that is a nice
I
pick.
I like Anthony Black a little bit more here. Realistically, like I look at that Orlando team, I think they have a fun kind of young team coming together. I think when you already have Franz Wagner, when you already have Paolo Banchero, when you already have kind of like your front court settled a little bit more, and Osar Thompson definitely would not be a bad pick here, but personally speaking, in terms of the fit, I think I like Anthony Black just a little bit more here for the Magic. So
All
yeah,
right.
ended up
I,
going with him.
yeah, no, this is not a bad pick at all. The stock has been rising on Anthony Black. A lot of mock drafts have him going in the top six, top seven. Obviously, there's rumors about Washington potentially taking him as well, but I don't necessarily think this is a bad pick. The Orlando Magic do need shooting. So again, we still have one more pick to go with the Orlando Magic. So we'll revisit this. Obviously, Anthony Black is a tremendous passer. He's also a great defender, and I believe the general manager of Orlando Magic is former general manager of Toronto Raptors, and his viewpoints are very similar to Masai Ujiri. You want tall defenders, and you got a 6'7" point guard here. I know he says shooting guard. He's a point guard. He's a great defender, great
He's going
passer
to
as
run the
well.
point for them 100%.
Yeah, and like you said, I think they need a legitimate point guard. I know that's not a shot at anyone they have right now or Jalen Suggs. I just feel like they keep going through these mediocre point guards. You need one to absolutely fill that position, and I think that's going to be Anthony Black. All right, so moving on to our next pick here, we have the Utah Jazz. Now, I do want to quickly say this is very tricky because Utah Jazz.
Indiana Pacers, not
Oh,
Utah
sorry,
Jazz.
sorry. My screen is showing something else here. Sorry. Indiana Pacers, excuse me, guys. Indiana Pacers. Now, this is a very tricky as to who they'll draft because, you got the Thompson brother there, you got Jarice Walker there. Jarice Walker, I keep butchering his name. You guys tell me in the comment section how to pronounce it, but I think they're going to go with Jarice Walker here. This one makes a lot of sense for the Indiana Pacers. There are question marks about, Miles Turner's future there. I don't think he's a center, but he brings a lot of physicality to the Indiana Pacers. They have their backcourt set already. Benedict Mathurin is going to be the future shooting guard on that team. You got Tyrese Halliburton as well. And you got some nice pieces as well, but I think he brings a little bit defense. He brings a lot of defense, brings in a lot of physicality. So I think this is a really nice pick for the Indiana Pacers.
I'm not gonna lie to you. As far as my own mock draft that I kind of drew up before we started doing this thing, it's going T for T. Every single pick
Oh,
that has gone so far has gone the exact way that I predicted it going. So you're making my life very difficult here in terms, or sorry, quite the
very
opposite. You're
easy.
making my life very easy in terms of who I pick with the next upcoming team because I'm guessing all of your picks correctly.
Oh, that's well, bright minds think alike, right? Whatever the saying is. But let's move on to our next pick here. And who do you have? The Washington Wizards, who, by the way, just traded Bradley Beal. This is going to be very interesting to see who you got with the eighth pick at the Washington Wizards.
I mean, again, at this point, this is all going according to the script that I have. And Asar Thompson, I think, just makes all the sense here, right? Like you said, Bradley Beal just got traded. You're going to need somebody to fill that scoring void. Asar Thompson, at this point, I think, is probably the most talented player in the draft. Obviously, like you alluded to earlier, there have been at least some questions about the level of competition that the Thompson brothers have faced. I think there's enough kind of potential here and enough, looking at Asar in terms of what he can bring to the table as a scorer that you like, that if you're Washington that is officially hitting, by the looks of it, that full reset, this is a great guy to start your reset with. So I think this is probably one of the easiest selections at this point in the draft.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think sometimes I know we all question about the talent level of their, what their competition level, everything like that. But obviously, Asar Thompson is rated top 10, projected top 10 anyways for a reason. He's very talented. I mean, anytime you have the way the NBA has been trending, you get a shooting guard that's 6'7". That's amazing. And like you said, they're just treated Bradley Beal. They need to get someone that fills in the shooting guard position. And I think this would be a great start for them as well. So again, there's always going to be question marks on this. I think he's a very talented player. And going to the Washington Wizards, he's going to have a lot of room to just make mistakes and work through them as well. So I think this is a win-and-win situation for both the Washington Wizards and Ausar Thompson as well. So moving on to our next pick here, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. The Utah Jazz, who are they going to select? I can't help but look at someone like a Grady Dick. But part of me really, really believes they're going to select. This is going to be hard. And I'm going to need a moment on this one because I don't think there's any good right answer. I think they're going to go with Kobe Buffkin here. They're going to go a little bit. He's going to be selected very early, even though there are a few other guys that you could argue are going to be very talented. I think Kobe Buffkin is a point guard, 6'4", as you see there. Very talented. He's a shot creator. He can shoot the three. And the Utah Jazz kind of need that, right? Like Colin Sexton isn't it. And let's be honest, Jordan Clarkson's a free agent. They might re-sign him. He's a six man. He's more of a shooting guard stuck in a. He's more of a. He's not tall enough to play the shooting guard position, but that's what he is, right? So he's shot first guy. He's not going to facilitate. And of course, those same questions could be said about Kobe Buffkin, but having a roster of Kobe Buffkin, and again, they do have another pick as well, but having a roster of Kobe Buffkin, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler Walker. I always mix up his first and last name, whatever it is, but that's a great trio to have. And on top of that, you have another first round pick as well.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That's the first wrench in the script that I had here. I did not expect you to go with. I did not expect you to go with Kobe there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now it comes up to me at 10 with Dallas, and this is one of the picks that I actually struggled with a little bit more in terms of where they go, because I mean, looking at that roster, obviously with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, outside of that, like you have plenty of issues, right? Like I think on the glass they were awful after the Kyrie trade. I think that's one of the everybody likes talking about the fact that not the Raptors, excuse me, the Mavericks were bad defensively after that trade, which I mean they definitely weren't good defensively after they acquired Kyrie, but I think the bigger thing that really stood out to me was the fact that they were just getting killed on the glass again and again. So I'm tempted.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
There's a couple of picks here that I'm tempted to make. My point there with that like little rant was there's a lot of needs that need to be filled on this team, both in terms of defense, both in terms of
3-point shooting.
Oh, I'm a little torn here. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think I'm going to stick with what I originally had here. Yeah, give me Grady Dick to Dallas.
Ooh, that's a nice pick. I actually thought you talked about defense. I thought you were gonna go Derek Lively, but Grady Dick, man, get on him because I want to talk about this one.
I thought about it for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but look, I look at Grady Dick and I think about a Luka Doncic led team, and like my goodness, Luka loves having shooters around him, right? Like I think the best thing you can always do around a player like a Luka Doncic, around a player like a LeBron James, et cetera, is surround them with great shooters. Grady Dick is arguably the best shooter in the draft, and he's still young enough. There's still plenty of upside. I think this is a good fit beside Luka Doncic, and that's solely, quite frankly, what I'm basing this off of. So Mavericks fans, if you come across this and you disagree with me, I'm sorry, but I like the move here. I really do. I think he can slot into, the small forward spot there potentially. Obviously, like you don't have a lot of good wing depth on that team. You need a lot outside of Kyrie and Luka right now. So I think there's plenty of directions you can go in and plenty of room to disagree with me here, but ultimately I'm going to go with the shooting. I'm going to go with Grady Dick.
Yeah, I really like this pick for Dallas. And again, it's one of those things, like you said, there isn't one particular thing they need because there's so many things they need to fix with that roster. They need shooting, they need rim protection. I think Grady Dick, I really like this for the reasons you've mentioned. You're going to have ball handlers in Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic as well. You need 3-point shooting, and they just simply do not have enough of that. They lost a lot of depth in that Kyrie Irving trade, and I think this gives them one of the best shooters, and also gives them size as well. This is a 6'7" shooter, right? So I know there's questions around his defense, and look, Dallas does need defense as well, but at the end of the day, man, it's all about the offense, right? And I think you want to make Luka happy by having offensive-minded players like Luka Doncic, and what better player to pair up Kyrie and Luka with than someone like a Grady Dick. So I think this is an excellent pick. again, it was one of those picks. I don't think you necessarily can go wrong. Now, this is very tricky because I had not anticipated some of the names that are here already. Orlando Magic. What do you even do with here? Because I really like Taylor Hendricks, and I know I've seen so many mock drafts selecting Taylor Hendricks to the Orlando Magic with, I believe, the sixth pick. But I think they need some sort of shooting, man. They really need shooting. Paulo Banchero doesn't shoot the three. You drafted, I believe, Anthony Black, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, to the Orlando Magic. So you got two shooters already. Now you got Wendell Carter Jr. who can shoot the three, but you need shooters. And I'm gonna go on a another bold here, and I'm gonna go Jordan
Oh
Hawkins,
my.
who is
Oh
gonna.
my.
I'm throwing everyone off of this mock draft here, but Jordan Hawkins, one of the best shooters and movement shooters in this entire draft. And look, there could be debates had with who's better, Grady or Jordan Hawkins, in terms of movement. I think Jordan Hawkins gets comparison to Ray Allen, excuse me. I think that's a little bit absurd, obviously, given, Ray Allen is an all-time great, but Jordan Hawkins solves a big issue for the Orlando Magic. Look, you got a tall point guard in Anthony Black who can defend. So it doesn't necessarily hurt to have someone like a Jordan Hawkins. He's 6'5" is decent height for a shooting guard. It's not, it's not you'd obviously prefer your shooting guards to be a little bit taller, but it's not a bad height. And given the type of movement that you'll have, the passing you'll have with Anthony Black, I really do like Jordan Hawkins for the Orlando Magic here.
Yeah, I think that's a solid pick. Obviously, if you're the Magic and you're not fully confident in the direction that maybe Jalen Suggs is going as a pro, Jordan Hawkins could eventually end up as your starting shooting guard on that team. Or honestly, even in the meantime, like he's a good piece to come off the bench. I'm a little surprised by that pick, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not expect to still have Taylor Hendricks on the board for this OKC pick. My God, that's
neither did I. Neither did I. He's projected to go top 10. I just think we're going to see so many. Again, this is not just me saying this. We've talked about this off camera. I just feel like this draft is going to be so crazy. A lot of player movement all over the place, and I'd be surprised, man. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, excuse me, if we see a lot of names projected to go in the 6, 7, 8 range to drop back to the 11, 12, 13, 14 spot. But yeah. Also, I just want to quickly add, sorry, JJ, just Jordan Hawkins. They do have Franz Wagner as well. So if they can go with different lineups there, I think that works very well with an Anthony Black and Paulo. You got Franz Wagner there, you got Jordan Hawkins, and then you got Wendell Carter Jr. So I think that's just excellent for them.
Yeah. Again, there's a few directions that Orlando can definitely go in. So I don't think it's a bad one by any means. You've made my life picking with OKC right now so interesting. I'm not going to lie to you. But I think similarly to before, I think I'm going to stick with the original pick that I had here. And this one kind of goes a little bit with the rumor mill and things that we've read. And
I know who you're going to say.
You absolutely know.
Say it.
You're hovering over it, and I'm absolutely going Bilal Coulibaly to OKC here. Look, we had the rumor that somebody in the lottery has made him a draft promise that if he's there at their pick, they're going to take him. I think it's one of two teams, quite frankly. I think it's either the Thunder or I think it's the Raptors that made that promise. And in this moment in time, I'm going to say it was the Thunder that did it. I think they end up with Bilal here. His last name just gives
Coulibaly.
Coulibaly. Yeah. He's a lengthy dude. We know OKC loves their leg, and I think there's so many spots here that you could kind of like play around with for OKC. I think there's tremendous versatility of what they could build here. Obviously, moving forward on their squad, they're going to get Chet Holmgren back next year, which should be super exciting for a team that was in the play and a team that has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who looks like he's going to be a future, potentially MVP candidate. You have Josh Giddey, you have Jalen Williams, you have the other Jalen Williams. Yep. There's a lot to be excited about on this roster. I think Coulibaly, he fits the MO of the team. I think there's a lot to potentially develop offensively as well, which could actually work in their favor in terms of developing him offensively into a guy that suits what their team needs. And obviously defensively, he's going to give you a lot straight out of the gate. So I think this one makes a lot of sense for OKC. So I'm gonna stand pat, even with some names being available that I wouldn't have thought would still be available.
Yeah, I think Bilal is again one of those players that is so intriguing for several reasons, and we have not seen a player stock rise as much as him. Maybe Kobe Buffkin, you can make the argument. He's projected to go top 10. There's rumors that he's got a promise from some sort of teams in the lottery as well. But Bilal makes too much sense for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, they do want to win, but they do have time to develop as well. So it's not like he's going into a situation where his development needs to be accelerated, to the point where it's like, okay, he's going to contribute in next year. He's got time there. They've got patience. So I think this is an excellent pick with him. Great versatility. 6'7". He's very strong. Bilal Koulibaly. He can guard some power forwards and small ball lineups. I'm sure he can be able to, his ability to guard centers is would not surprise me if he's able to. Again, his wingspan is 7'2", 7'3". So he's got these enormous arms. And look, the Oklahoma City Thunder, excuse me, could absolutely use someone like that attacks the basket as well. So I think this is an excellent pick for Oklahoma City Thunder. With that being said, now you've made my job really hard, JJ. Now you've made it really hard. Taylor Hendricks is still on the board. I'm gonna upset a lot of Raptors fans, man. I'm gonna go off the board. I'm gonna go off the board
Oh
yet
God.
once again. And
Oh God.
this is someone. If you've been a fan of this channel, if you've been following for a while, they're tempting names like Taylor Hendricks. I have a feeling, again, just instinct, that maybe the Raptors will go with someone like a Jalen Hood Schifino. I know big people are really big on Cason Wallace and guys like Keontae George. I'm gonna go.
I'm people. I'm
Yeah,
big
yeah.
on Cason.
Look, we'll get to Kaysen if we talk about him, but I'm going to go off the board, and I'm surprised he's actually ranked this high. I'm going to go with Rayon Rupert. This is going to upset a lot of Raptors fans if you're watching this, but if you've been watching this channel, I am absolutely so high on this guy. There's been videos out there of, talking about his work ethic, comparing it to Kobe. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be a Kobe, don't get me wrong, but his game has been compared to Mikal Bridges. He's a 6'7" guard, as you see there. He's a shooting guard. I don't want to say he identifies as a shooting guard because I'm not trying to offend anyone here, but he's we got to be careful in 2023. But most times, you see 6'7" guys, you would think small forward, power forward, but this guy is a shooting guard. He says he likes to play the shooting guard position. Also, just a quick background of him. His father did die, I believe, 6 or 7 years ago. So very similar story to Pascal Siakam. And his defense is unbelievable. When you watch his highlights, I know there's going to be questions about his competition level. Rayon Rupert is someone that's got amazing, amazing feet. His arms, his 7'2" wingspan, he's got enormous arms, good hands, and he's got a really high IQ in terms of knowing where the ball is going to go and intercepting those passes as well. So obviously his three-point shot isn't there, and I know a lot of Raptors fans want three-point shooting, and in particular, they want a point guard in case Fred leaves. I'll let you say something here because I know you want to say a few things. You're not happy with this pick.
Oh man, I mean, I think it's funny enough. This is like 100% like a Masai slash
It really is.
Bobby type of move to take a guy that maybe not a lot of people saw coming, and obviously the defense and stuff like that. Toronto needs more shooting, man. Like I can't get over that. Especially considering that you might there's a small chance I would.
We got Malachi Flynn, man. Come on, he's gonna get minutes next year.
Oh no, so I still think Toronto's biggest need this offseason is shooting, especially when you're sitting in a position where you might lose one of, if not both, Gary Trent Jr. and Fred VanVleet. I probably would have gone in a different direction here.
I know. I'm gonna get all the heat in the comment section. Bring it on. I'm gonna take the heat. I really like Rayon, but go ahead.
Hey man, it was your pick to make. You made the pick that you felt was best. I think the Raptors need tons of shooting for the team that they have and for the guys that they're trying to feature. And look, a lot of this still could change. I still do really think there's a decent chance if Toronto wants to be a player and moving up in this draft. I think they absolutely can be. So I think depending on whether or not they do or they don't do that makes the second pick that I would anticipate in theory them having a lot different, because again, if you're talking about, potentially having OG or Pascal Siakam move somewhere else, I think that changes the draft plan a little bit. Yeah, it was your pick to make. I would have taken Casey Wallace, but that's just me.
Hey, a lot of people would have, and I know. Look, I'm going to get a lot of hate. I just want to quickly say one thing as well. There has been someone, I believe, his YouTube channel is locked on NBA Big Board. He said he's seen Rihanna about 18 times in the last 2 months. He said his shot looks a lot better. Look, he's got a smooth shot. I think the Raptors could work with him, but our Zoom meeting is only giving us 9.3 minutes remaining. So let's get through this quickly and move on to our next pick here. And you have the Pelicans, exactly the last pick, actually. So we got a good amount of time. Never mind. We don't have to rush through this. So
Yeah, I didn't understand the intensity there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I forgot we're just doing picks 1 to 14 here. So
Yeah. So the Pelicans would be the last lottery team here. There's a lot of directions they could go here with this one. I'm not going to lie to you. Based on the people still left on the board, quite frankly, I think they should be looking at somebody from the backcourt. Because obviously, like CJ McCollum's getting up there in years a little bit, and I think you could really use a backcourt player. Zion is obviously interesting because, man, the dude cannot stay on the court, but I don't know how much. I on one hand, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I think it's too early to write him off in terms of what he can be as a pro and whether or not his body is going to hold up in the NBA. And I don't think New Orleans is quite ready to do that yet. Although there have been some Zion trade rumors for this draft, which I think is crazy from both sides, quite frankly. But that's neither here or there. I think Zion is still here on this team moving forward. So with that in mind, considering CJ McCollum's age, I think you got to go backcourt here. And I'm tempted to go one of two guys here. I'm really split between Case and Wallace, and I'm split between Nick Smith Jr. I think both of them I think they both bring something interesting to the table. If you're the New Orleans Pelicans, it's a matter of, do you want a guy that's maybe a little bit more lethal of a scorer potentially, or do you want a guy that's going to be good at a little bit of everything and just kind of a more seamless fit? And that's really the question here, isn't it?
yeah. By the way, JJ, before you make your pick, I know we're going to get murdered in the comment section for not selecting Taylor Hendricks by now, but obviously, realistically thinking, in real life, I don't think he's going to get past, even top 12. But obviously, it doesn't make sense for the Pelicans at the moment to draft him because they got Zion. So,
yeah, and even past Zion, obviously, you still have Trey Murphy on the team, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why he's not showing up in like this little depth chart down here. But oh wow, no, he's still all the way down there. God damn, yeah, you have Najee Marshall, you have Herb Jones, you have you have that spot. I think you're fine there.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna go backcourt. Just looking up and down the roster, I think I'd rather have Case and Wallace as a fit overall here. So I'm gonna go with Case and Wallace. Is it the right pick? Could Nick Smith Jr. could have gone here instead? Absolutely. I think you can make the argument for either. Ultimately, I like Wallace's defense. I like Wallace's all-around game. I think I just like him a little bit better overall as a prospect. So take that for what you will. I'm going to take Jason Wallace here.
Hey, that's not a bad pick. The only thing I will say in regards to that is they do have Dyson Daniels, who's a point guard as well, and he's a really good defensive point guard as well. So again, it's never hurts you to have two good backcourt players that can play defense, especially in today's NBA. But I think that would be the only question mark for me for being if I'm a Pelicans is you got Dyson Daniels there. So does Case and Wallace make sense? Again, there's so many different players you could go here where there's no right or wrong answer. I think, like you said, Nick Smith Jr. I think Nick Smith Jr. will go a little bit below, but he's also one of those players that due to injury, he struggled a little bit, but he also has a lot of potential as well. But his floor is also much lower than I think Kaysen Wallace. Kaysen can come in, contribute right away, play some great defense. I think the only thing that worries me about Kaysen is the fit here because you got Zion who doesn't shoot threes, and you want to surround him with 3-point shooters. So Kaysen, although Kaysen's
a fairly decent shooter. I would not.
He can shoot threes, but he's not an excellent 3-point shooter. I think that's the only thing. I know he shots. I saw somewhere this.
Sorry, being somebody that looked at Kaysen a decent bit, obviously for the Raptors in itself, I think Kaysen, when it comes to his 3-point shooting, he's a better shooter when he's getting it off the catch And I think in a situation like the Pelicans, where you have guys like Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson potentially taking priority over Cason Wallace in that pecking order of who's going to be the lead handler and who's going to have the ball in their hands the most, I actually think as far as shooting goes, like fit wise, this works very well for Cason. Again, as somebody who is better as a set shooter than he is as a movement shooter.
Yeah, that is true. And again, I could be wrong. I saw somewhere there's a span of games where he shot like 40% on catch and shoot three. So again, I don't know how true that is. I did read that somewhere, or maybe it was about someone, but that's about Cason Wallace. So again, not a bad pick. Don't get me wrong. I think the Pelicans would be very excited to have Cason Wallace still available, obviously at this pick. But we'll quickly go through these picks here. Obviously, Victor, Brandon, Scoot, Amen, Cam Whitmore, Anthony Black, Joyce Walker. And then we got Asar Thompson going 8th, Kobe Buffkin, which was a surprise pick at the 9th, Grady Dick at the 10th, which I think is excellent, Jordan Hawkins at the 11th, Bilal Coulibaly, which I really want the Raptors to draft, at the 12th, but they got the next best thing besides Bilal, and that's Rayan Rivera. And with the 14th pick, we got Cason Wallace. So I know.
I look forward to your comment sections, my guy.
They're not going to be nice. They're not going to be nice. I'll tell you that, especially from Raptors fans and a lot of, Taylor Hendricks fans as well, questioning why he didn't go in the top 10 as well. So again, I think you can make the argument for Taylor Hendricks potentially going in the top 10, but it's just, if we're going simply off of need, it's tough to see which team. Again, you could make an argument that the 10th spot, the Dallas Mavericks could have selected him, but that's your fault. You selected Grady Dick there, not me. So that's where Taylor Hendricks, I had him going. But again, no, I don't think there's any right or wrong picks. It's just opinions. But I'm very, very intrigued to hear from what you guys think. JJ, any last thoughts on this draft? What you want to say before we end this video here?
I think the comment section will absolutely disagree and tell us there are a lot of wrong picks, but I mean, hey, it is what it is.
that's you know what? That's the most exciting part about making mock videos, because there's going to be a lot of picks a lot of fans like, a lot of picks that fans do not, but we're very curious to hear your thoughts. Again, make sure to head over to JJ's channel. I'm going to leave the link down below. Make sure to subscribe to his, make sure to subscribe to mine as well. And that will be it for today's video. So thank you guys for watching this video, and hope you guys have yourselves a great day.